All right, today on the show, our guest is Justin Ball from the Jessica Ball team with Remax Traders Unlimited in Peoria, Illinois, which happens to be where I grew up. Also, author of the book Succession Planning. I'll say that again, Succession Planning for real estate agents. I have a hard time with succession. But let's tell you a little bit about Justin. Justin Ball is a realtor and a commercial broker with the Jessica Ball team, Remax Traders Unlimited, also Ball Homes LLC, and Remax Traders Unlimited Commercial Division. Now, his wife, Jessica, founded the team in 2017. And after several years of Justin being the highest performing, lowest paid, unlicensed assistant around, he finally got his real estate license in 2021. Justin and Jessica are getting ready to release their book, Succession Planning for Real Estate Agents, Monetizing Your Business in Retirement, which is coming this month. The book is a strategic and tactical guide for agents looking to retire or grow their business and sponsoring broker owners wanting to keep their retiree sales volume and former clients' business in their brokerage. For agents working to grow their business, this book will help you navigate becoming a successor to a retiring agent. Justin's background in customer relationship management, CRM systems, marketing, lead gen, and sales funnels support the team as it continues to grow and as the industry of real estate changes faster than it ever has with the introduction of new technology. I'd like everybody to take a look at the succession planning book, which you can find by visiting the website resuccession.com. And I'll spell that just in case you might not have direct access to that. By the way, we will have the link in our show notes, but it is sorry, let me start that over. resuccession.com. Once again, resuccession.com. You can learn all about the ideas of what you can do with your business when you're nearing retirement, and also how you could possibly look for other people that might be retiring and work out an arrangement with them. Justin, welcome to the show. We're excited to have you.
I'm really glad to be here. Glad to be joining you.
Well, I was pleasantly surprised. Oftentimes, embarrassingly enough, I don't always do a tremendous amount of research on my guests. I know the talking points, and I know approximately, what I need to go over in the course of the interview. But it's one of the things I often forget to do is check to see where people are from. Sometimes I know, and other times I have to just a few minutes before I go live, go, oh my gosh, I have to figure out where they're located. And I was so pleased to find out you're a Peoria person, you and your wife, because of course that's where I grew up. It's near and dear to my heart. I really enjoy Peoria. I think it was a wonderful place to grow up. And even though I've been in Chicago for 20 plus years, I still really love Peoria, and I'm glad to be speaking with an agent there, and also an author, and you and your wife. So thanks for coming on our show. And the first question I always like to ask, although we sort of know a bit about your story, but maybe you can even talk us through the entirety of how your wife and you got into real estate. But I'd always like to go back to the beginning, and then how you guys got started. Obviously you talked about helping your wife as she was growing her Remax practice, and then eventually deciding, hey, we need to write a book about succession planning, which to my knowledge, and we get pitched by publicists who are representing authors in the real estate space almost daily, by the way. And I have not yet seen, and maybe there are books that tackle this topic, but we've yet to be approached by anyone. So we're so excited to chat, because I think this is a topic that our audience definitely would like to hear. They're building this book of business. What happens when they retire? And oh yeah, what about people who are retiring now? What can you do to maybe partner up with them? So really excited to chat with you. But can you start us all the way back at the beginning and how you guys got into real estate?
You bet. So my wife was in federal law enforcement and probation. And once we started our family, she said, I'm ready for a new career. I have several people in my family who are realtors, and really sat down, talked with us about the business. It seemed like a great fit for my wife, and she started her team, and things really took off, and every year has just gotten a little bit better. I like to think I play a big role in that as an unpaid, unlicensed assistant, bringing all my marketing and CRM expertise into things. But she has this incredible empathy and compassion for working with families during these major life decisions going on. And time again, we would get these emails within the brokerage, and it would say, so-and-so is retiring. Please come to a happy hour cocktail party to see them off in style, or to have cookies, or whatever it may be. And I thought, where is their business going? Like, just what happens to it? Because in these cases, it wasn't that, please contact so-and-so for referring people to them or their area of expertise. It was literally just people who were locking the door and turning the lights out. And this is really an opportunity to do succession planning that's great for retirees to earn money, great for people who are looking to build their business and expand their business, and then really for brokerages to keep that business within their brokerage. And so I said to Jessica when we were talking to someone thinking about retiring, let's set up a program and a contract to generate referrals and start to work on taking over, working with their sphere of influence, because they were a really well-connected individual in the community. And we went out and started looking for, how do you do this? And just like you said about there's nothing out there, there are handshakes and contracts and things that happen behind closed doors and privately, but there's really no information publicly about how to plan a succession plan, how to really transition that sphere of influence and book of business from a retiree to their successor, and how to monetize that in retirement and make money from those referrals as a referral network agent. And this is where the book was born. We literally just started from scratch. And the more that we started to dig and talk to contacts across the country, and even just here in Peoria and Chicago, we found out people were writing these contracts all the time and there was no consistency to them. And so we sat down and started the 2-year process that was really writing the best practices for an agent who's retiring to earn money for referrals, and for an agent who's taking over as their successor to really get the most out of those referrals and providing continuity to their book of business.
Yeah, wow, you said a lot there. And I want to just set the stage before we get into any sort of detail about, first, just this myth that you have obviously talked about in the book, which is this idea that real estate, because it is largely transactional in nature with respect to commissions and fees, everyone listening knows I don't think anyone's figured out a way to do a fee-based model where, somebody pays you a percentage of something every year, which is typically how financial advisors do it, which, when we look at like the financial advisor model, which used to be more transactional when it was stockbrokers, now it's assets under management, and they typically charge a fee, typically a percentage. And so when a financial advisor retires, it's a pretty obvious thing, because they have this built-in, whatever it is, 1% of fees of all the assets under management coming in sort of no matter what. So it's a real obvious sort of transition. You could say, well, I can give this to somebody, and maybe you work on an arrangement where you keep some of it, but the money's automatically coming in. But then there's this idea that, well, wait a minute, real estate is transactional in nature. So how do you actually have a business to sell necessarily? And I know that there's a lot of people listening that think, well, I didn't realize I was building something that actually has value once I leave. So could we just dispel that myth to get started, and just first set the stage that there is a business to sell or transition?
Yeah, there absolutely is. And in my other life outside of real estate, we talk about buying businesses and determining their value and their EBITDA multipliers and this. But for your average real estate agent or small team, the business is the sphere of influence and the book of business that they've built. All of those relationships that are out there, and people who think of them as their realtor and who refer them out there. And so the work that an agent has done for 10, 20, 30, 40 years in building this book of business and these clients has a value, and they can continue to earn on it through referrals to the book of business that's there. And I think, right now there are a lot of real estate agents who pay a lot of money to generate leads. And I loved listening to your episode with Krista Mayshore, where she was talking about not paying big companies for leads and generating your own leads. And this is exactly what that is. Low acquisition cost, if no acquisition cost, to get new leads in, and then paying the referral fee on the back. And so, when we talk to agents thinking about retirement, it is, we build these contracts with their successor, and as they refer business or business is made from their sphere of influence, they're paid a referral fee in a retirement or referral network. for things. And there is value to business. Even agents who are only doing 12 transactions a year, there is still money to be earned and justification for keeping their license in a referral network.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I don't know how it works in every state. I imagine it's state specific, but I know here in Illinois, we have, in fact, we have one here at our own company, which is called, we call it a holding company, which is for, which all a holding company is in Illinois, at least, is a managing broker who is not a member of a local association, which means that all of the brokers underneath that managing broker also cannot become a member of the local association of wherever the agent might be listed. And what it basically means for everyone listening who's unfamiliar with this term is that an agent can keep their license active, but they can't practice real estate. So they can't represent buyers, sellers, renters, but they can still refer business to other agents from anywhere in the country. And still get paid on those referrals. And it's very popular here in Illinois. I think our holding company that we have has, I think we have about 550 agents in it. I imagine most states have some version of that. So that is something to think about as maybe you're nearing retirement and you want to figure out a way where you can still earn income, finding a brokerage that's somehow just willing to hold your license, and maybe you don't have to join a local association. There's certainly those firms as well. But I know that we built our business, we built a holding company strictly because we saw a need for that. And so that's a great, I'm sure that's a part of one of your strategies is once you get to that point where you're no longer practicing, but you still are able to earn. But my first real question is, for everyone who's listening, who might be younger, who's like, well, retirement's a good deal a ways away. This is an opportunity for the younger agent to even make relationships with retiring agents or people nearing sort of that stage of their career where they might want to consider succession planning, and start to maybe even present them with an idea that says, hey, let's talk about retirement. And I'm curious, if that's a major part of the book where you're talking about how do you go out, by the way, and also if you're on the younger side and still sort of, build these relationships.
Yeah. And so that is exactly a chapter is about how do you choose a successor? And if you are a younger agent or an agent that's still growing their business, how do you become a successor? And I think oftentimes there's a lot of agents out there who are retirement eligible, who aren't pulling the trigger or making a plan or setting a date because they don't have a plan for what things look like after that, for how to care for their family, their provide this continuity again that's out there. And so talking to your managing broker about who might be a good fit, identifying some people that you could possibly build a team with in the interim. The data from NAR is staggering, and I just had to share this, and I wrote it down on here.
Please.
There are 300,000 realtors in the United States over the age of 60, and 65,000 don't expect to be selling real estate in 2 years. So just in our home state of Illinois alone, there are 7,000 people who don't think they're going to be selling real estate in 2 years, and 2,400 of them are over 60. So the future is ready for these succession plans to be happening. And I don't think we've ever approached someone about a succession plan and they've said like, hard no, leave me alone, I'm offended you asked. The worst case scenario is I'm still going to work for another 5 years, come see me in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and that's fair.
It is absolutely fair. And there are some people who want that. And there are others who just said, this has been on my mind and you're giving me a really good reason to start to put pen to paper and create a tangible plan for doing this. And so for those younger agents or those agents who are still growing their business, this is literally a chance to acquire a book of business that you'll pay a referral fee on for 1, 2, maybe 3 years. That's generally the type of contracts that we build. And then this is your sphere of influence to work for a lifetime. And you hear so much about the lifetime value of clients and the fact that it isn't just one transaction. It's one transaction now, a transaction in 5 years, a referral for other family members. And so this is an immense chance to grow your business through someone else without paying for these leads. And the leads that come through as referrals close most of the time. I mean, I would say our close rate on these is probably 85, 90% because someone has done the work, the retiree, of priming the pump of, I trust this person. I'm giving your referral to Justin. he and Jessica are going to help you buy your house, sell your house, downsize, upsize, sell off your investment portfolio, whatever that may be.
So it's interesting. I see there's so much opportunity here from either the retiree or the upcoming retirees perspective, that they can go out and start, either talking to their managing broker, saying, hey, who in the firm would be a good person to partner with as I sunset out. Or on the other side, the younger agents looking towards some of the older agents, like you were saying here in Illinois, thousands and thousands of them have this ability to possibly retire. And I don't suspect either side, the younger agent or the older agent, are getting a lot of phone calls about this right now. So it's a real opportunity, and there's probably a bit of an education component to it. But I would imagine it's a pretty interesting phone call. And I know if I were an agent, I don't know if I would do it if I was a brand new agent, although that's possible too, because then you could become somebody's like apprentice or work with them specifically with the intention of, learning all their skills so that when they sunset out, you're the person. But it's a real opportunity on both sides to start almost prospecting other agents, not to try to recruit them so much as to partner with them. And this is a huge opportunity. And I'm curious, once you find somebody who on either side where you're going, okay, we're going to work something out. I'm curious on what you recommend, because you said, boy, the close rates are so high, 85, 90%, which is pretty incredible. If we think about this, like there's really no other lead source that doesn't come from your direct sphere of influence, which is not what this is. It's someone else's sphere. I mean, it might be part of your sphere, but most likely it probably isn't. And to get an 85 or 90% sort of, hit rate on someone else's book of business is pretty impressive. So I'm curious, once you find somebody and you do work out some sort of financial arrangement, which I know the book goes into different models for how to do that, how do you recommend that the older agent start to introduce, or do you recommend that they somehow introduce their successor? What's sort of the process for getting their sphere of influence aware of what's happening and who you've chosen to be your person?
Yeah, this is incredibly important. And this is where the magic happens. The contracts are formalities. The ability to transfer trust and brand from a retiree to their successor is really what it's all about. If I said, what's the best practice, 18 months to 2 years is ideal, because that gives you time to really start co-marketing and co-branding on all of the postcards and farming and emails and client parties that a retiring agent is doing while you are ready, preparing this transition in there. And for them to say, this is my team. So when people call, if they're buying their second home, getting ready to move to Florida in retirement, those people aren't surprised when it's getting handed off, and they start to see this as a coherent package of people in there. But really the client events and if there's a client who is a repeat buyer or investor or does any of these things, having the chance to shake hands and introduce the successor to those clients really puts your personal stamp on them, saying, this person's on my team. When you call my phone number, you may get my team member doing this. You should have great confidence they're going to treat you like this. And we talk a lot in the book about when you find that partner, that successor and retiree that you want to work together, what makes the retiree an amazing agent? Is it that they're compassionate and they sit down and they develop these deep relationships and walk people through to start to finish? Is it that they are an incredible marketing and have a great marketing program to sell houses? Is that they are deeply analytical and help evaluate rental properties and flippers and people who are doing long-term buy and hold activities? And how do you really instill those things that the person's sphere of influence loves about them and respects about them to the successor? And it takes all shapes and sizes. That's why it's not a one size fits all. It's really finding a pair and a match that works out really well and then transferring that trust over to them.
I love that. And you said something earlier about starting the planning or announcing to the clients that you'll be heading out to this into the sunset, 18, 24 months. And that gives the the successor time to get introduced to the sphere of influence, but also it gets the successor really acclimated to how that producer conducts business. You said, as you mentioned, talking about things like what qualities do they demonstrate? Because at the end of the day, that's probably the most important thing: is can I duplicate or replicate those experiences for this person's book of business? Do I have the ability to be as empathic as the person who their clients know and love and trust? And I imagine, I'm curious if you think like even taking a personality assessment might be a good idea, like a disc profile or something to that extent, to where you could say, okay, I've got this, I'm in theory, I've got the same skill set or the same qualities, personality, because I imagine that's just got to be critical.
It is. It's why getting to know someone and asking your managing broker and talking with them about, are they a good fit, reveals, are you good to work together in that transition time. I would say some of the worst or the least productive succession plans we're doing is where someone says, I'm moving in 2 weeks. Here is the box of all of my signs and my database and my paper files. And we don't have that time to sit down and say, what do your clients love about you? What would your sphere of influence say makes you really great? When someone makes a referral to you, why are they making that referral to you directly as a person? And then how do we begin to replicate some of those activities or build that skill set? And I think what's been really fascinating is those skill sets may not always be up to speed with the times. So how do we take something like, I'm looked at as a great resource for this neighborhood, and how do we bring new technology into, all right, we're going to use Brivity as a CRM, and we're going to send everybody in your sphere this price evaluation tool, so that we're taking the work that you've done to another potential level, with the ambition of our future earnings and that continuity of service.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I also think it gives, with the sort of 24-month, ideally 24-month lead time, it gives the younger agent the ability to develop some of those particular skills that the retiring agent, already has and mastered. And I'd say, if you spend 2 years focused on a certain set of skills that maybe you feel weak in, you're going to be a heck of a lot stronger in 2 years. And I think you're right about, if possible, being able to even join the team of that agent before they retire really helps set the stage for, sort of just trust, because that group, in your case, you guys have, the Jessica Ball team with Remax Traders Unlimited. So this idea of ideally they would join your team, and then you could slowly roll out, here's my new team member, just so everybody knows when I retire, so and so is going to take amazing care of you. He or she's going to be around for the next couple of years, absorbing everything, really making sure they understand, how I take care of my clients. But it is such a neat idea. And I think that, so if I'm a younger agent, how might I go about maybe working to secure one of these relationships? Do you have suggestions about how you may want to approach a retired or a broker who may be considering retirement, or maybe isn't considering retirement, but technically could, if they were brought an idea to let them know that they could still earn income while they go out of production?
Yeah, I think it's really important to approach those conversations with a sense of empathy and a sense of respect. Coming in saying, I'm looking to take over your business, probably is the starting point, but saying that you're an agent who I've watched, who is working from referrals, and who I really respect for the book of business you've built. How can I learn to develop this? And have you ever thought of mentoring or bringing someone on as a teammate, or thinking about succession planning when you're ready to retire? And I think that opens the door for the conversation. People may say, I'm not interested in mentoring, I'm not interested in doing this, or I've been pressured by my wife or my husband to begin thinking about retirement, and this is a perfect time that we may be able to do something over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, because I really am ready to make this decision and plan my own retirement.
Yeah, it's such great. And I want to also mention the book website again for everyone listening who says, gosh, I had no idea that succession planning can exist in the real estate sort of brokerage model. And the website is resuccession.com. There'll be a link for that in our show notes, but there's a link directly to purchase the book on Amazon. And also they're going to have very shortly an audiobook format, as well as a paperback version. So definitely check out resuccession.com. But let's talk about too, this is something that is not really being discussed at the brokerage level. I suspect managing brokers don't really understand because it is a transaction. I'll give you a perfect example. So I have a very close friend who is nearing retirement. He is a home inspector, and he is very well respected in his in the Chicagoland area. Very busy, but it is he himself. He is a one-man operation, and he has a couple of years left, and then he's going to retire. And I had said to him, how do you transfer that business you built up over 40 years? He goes, boy, I don't think I can, because I don't have an apprentice. I don't have somebody. And really, if somebody were to partner with me, they just would be buying a phone number basically, and the phone would ring. And, and so he is even unaware that the same sort of process could happen, where he could bring on somebody, start introducing them to his referral sources, which are realtors, and start saying, hey, here's my guy, or here's my woman who's going to be taking over. They're going to be shadowing me or doing this. And I'm going to mention this book to him, because even though he's not an agent, although maybe he technically is an agent, but he's, his business is being an inspector. He has a couple of years to really get this figured out. And his phone rings all the time. So I know I would love to have that. But I think you're right. It's critical that the retiring agent really introduces the apprentice or the person who would be taking over as early as possible and as often as possible, just making sure that everyone understands sort of, what's happening here.
And I think too, this is one of the other fascinating things. When people call that agent and they're referring business back to us, some of the clients appreciate that it's a team. Other clients don't even realize that those folks have moved from Peoria across the country. Right. And they literally just say, oh, this is excellent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send my team member, Justin, to help you with this. Exactly. And the continuity is invisible in that sense. And the trust is still there. And the brand is still there in that sense. But I'm really worried too. You talked about your friend that's the home inspector. This is the reality, I think, with a lot of baby boomers. And this is where there's a lot of information out there. A lot of these service businesses are going to be ending in the next 5 to 10 years. And there aren't these plans for how to do it. And they're really critical to our economy and to the real estate world in general.
Yeah, it's such a great thing to talk about. And again, it's just not really being talked about, because we think it's so easy to dismiss the idea as all my clients, they like me and but if they like you and they understand that at some point you're unable to service them, or a perfect example, as you gave, is, hey, I moved. I'm now only in, my local community half a year, or I'm a snowbird, I do the Florida thing during the winter, or I just retired altogether. But having somebody that you can refer to. And then I'm curious on when you do find this partnership, whether on either side of the transaction, making sure that newer agent really understands not just the qualities, the things like empathy and compassion and calm, but also understanding the expectations around how much or what actual activities that person engages in while they have a client, right? Like making sure that if the retiring agent calls every single client of theirs while they're in the middle of a transaction every 2 days. Some agents have those kind of policies where it's like, I make sure I call everybody once a week, whether we have any news or not about their particular transaction, and then bring on a new agent, making sure that those two agents really understand what the expectations are. I think is, like you were saying, you go through the qualities, and I'm sure you go through the activities as well, and say, what are you doing on a daily basis? Because that new agent is likely going to have to duplicate, those behaviors.
Mm-hmm. And those are the kind of questions that we ask when we kind of match people up. Do you text your buyers and sellers? Do you
Yeah.
have these regular emails that you send out? Are you a person who goes to people's house and sits down at their kitchen table and has the cup of coffee and engages, or are you really high tech and you do everything through transaction management digitally and remotely? And really, again, identifying what makes your brand so that we can begin to replicate some of that brand, or at least the best practices of it.
Yeah, it's a really good point too. And it could even be as simple as how late do you respond? How quickly do you respond to a client request? What happens if it's 11 p.m. and you're up and you see the little SMS message or an email or a phone call come through? Do your clients expect me to answer that phone call, or do they understand that I'll get to it first thing in the morning? Or what's the expectation? Really understanding that, so that the agent that's coming in really has a clear set of guidelines around, here's what's expected, and I'm agreeing to do X, Y, and Z. And I imagine the more detailed and written out and agreed upon by both parties it is, the clearer and better probably and smoother it goes.
Mm-hmm. It is. And again, the time to plan and learn that is critical. I don't know that I can say that 2 years or 18 months is like the optimal amount of time, but certainly having the ability to work with someone for 6 months up to that point, so that you're going out on visits, you can shadow them in the office, and you can learn what you don't know. I mean, this is an opportunity to pass down the legacy of the secrets of real estate agents.
For sure.
What has made agents amazing over the years. And it just kills me when I see people retire and the brokerage loses that business and the clients go with the first realtor that they find online. And really the secrets of service that are going to withstand the test of time are lost in that transition and transaction.
What type of financial arrangements do you typically see? So the retiring agent, you were mentioning maybe they actually exit out from actually receiving referral commissions a certain number of years. But for that, in that first year, once the agent is out of production, maybe their license is in a holding company, like we mentioned, but they're still able to earn referral commissions. What type of financial arrangements do you see as sort of most common? So what do the splits typically look like from the retiring agent to the person taking over the book?
Yeah. So as we write the different types of contracts in there, what we see most often and what we recommend is 3 years of paying out specific referral fees. And as you can appreciate, we don't have a standard set fee or a set referral fee in there. But as we talk to agents across the country, I would say we saw referral splits as high as 40%. And referral splits broadly around 25%.
Sure.
And so as we recommend, or as we work with agents putting those together, we oftentimes say, because an agent could refer to anybody and we're making this exclusive contract, let's front load the amount a little more in year 1 and then reduce it gradually over time. Although we do have tools in there for evaluating a book of business if you're going to pay a flat rate to an agent for taking over their book of business as opposed to a referral fee, or in a lot of cases, an incentive pay. And I really like using that incentive pay after year 1 of, we're going to, if we sell more than 2 million or 4 million or $5 million worth, we'll give you $5,000, or we'll give you 10,000 or 2,000 or whatever the number may be, especially because it varies region to region based on your average home sale price and average commission. But it keeps the retiree hungry and engaged. And so that they really are being diligent in sending those referrals every opportunity that they get. And that we as the successors are really being diligent and following up in there. So 3 years tends to be a really good amount of time. I like seeing incentives in there. And we generally will write in some additional features about if you're selling your personal property or real estate, discounts on those things because they may be keeping a home here or selling off a package of investment properties or any number of things.
It's really interesting. That's such a great answer, and thank you for sharing that. I was just thinking, in a previous career a million years ago, I was a financial advisor, and we were a fee-based model. So we would take, as I sort of was mentioning that earlier, the idea of collecting someone's investment portfolio and then charging them a percentage of the assets under management, which is pretty much how almost all financial advisors do it these days. So you would have in that industry, and I'm sure it's still happening, those books of business were very valuable, because even if there wasn't an obvious transfer of power, the firm, unless the client canceled their, took their investments out of the portfolio, didn't really matter who was managing it, as long as those fees kept coming in. And so those financial advisors who are retiring are very valuable, and they are getting called by financial advisors everywhere. And I used to fantasize of getting one of these calls from one of these retiring financial advisors saying, I've got this book of, $300 million, and I want to, share it with you, and we'll figure out a way to compensate us both. But it never happened. But it's because it's so common that there's whole industries built in the financial advisory world of helping people with succession planning, because it's so incredibly lucrative. This is a kind of a newer thing that isn't really as widely understood in the real estate side, because again, we think of it as transaction focused. And of course it is, but there is. So I guess my point is, if I was a financial advisor back when I was, and if I would have started calling, if I had a list of people who are financial advisors who are nearing retirement, they probably would be like, you're the 25th person that's called me, get lost, I don't know you. But I suspect that real estate agents who are nearing retirement aren't getting these phone calls. So I think this is such a huge opportunity that, number one, most retiring agents haven't really thought about succession planning, other than maybe chatting with their managing broker about, like, do you have an idea of what I should do? But there isn't any real formal process around this. And that's what you guys really have created in the book, Succession Planning for Real Estate Agents. And also you do consulting work as well for agents. Is that correct?
It is. So if you are a person thinking about retirement, or if you have identified a successor already, we offer consultation services to come in and help you set up that contract, help go through those activities of transferring trust and introduction to clients. We do presentations to brokerages, which I think is where broker owners could really make hay, because providing this presentation to their agents who are both retiring and aspiring to grow their business can set those up and keep the business in house. But I think one of the things, some of the things that we do that are so far beyond what we've just talked about are the value of things like a domain name, the value of things like website content, the value of things like investor lists, and a lot of these assets that are a little less tangible, maybe in the sense, and really how important the CRM or the database is of the retiree. And so we talk about, there are probably some really nice, clean succession plans where I've downloaded my nice comma delimited spreadsheet to give to you to import in. And there are here's my file cabinet for the last 2 years. And there is even another level of, I really don't have anything. I just pick up the phone when the phone rings, and we have to recreate an entire database from brokerage history and activities that are there.
I'm curious, without obviously sharing, any confidential information about people that you've helped set these up, what kind of income have you seen? And again, it all depends on the amount of transactions and obviously where somebody's located and the average price of properties. But I imagine there's a lot of people who you've helped who are retiring, who, they can always refer business, and maybe they would, but they don't have a real structure for, taking their book of business and keeping it moving with the newly licensed agent. It's just, if my phone rings, I'm retired, I'll pass it over to you. But that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about an actual plan of, okay, here's how you're going to introduce your clients to me. Here's how I'm going to gain their trust. Here are the expectations on both sides. And what kind of income, and I know it's a wide range, but we're talking about a lot of income that retiring agent could still be retaining every year, just based on putting a plan like this together.
Yeah, so it is really hard when you talk about such different types of people, but I'll give you kind of a summary that we talk about in the book. If you average an agent's last 3 years of production, and let's say that on average they produce 15 million a year in gross sales, you can expect that out of that first year of business to do about 1/3 of that through their referral network. Wow. So if somebody is saying I average 15 million a year in sales, we can generally expect to close $5 million of that through their referrals in the first year. And then we just see it dwindle a little bit each year as they're a little further removed from the process. But I think that this brings up a really good point. You kind of set me up for this one, which was really good. What you don't want to do is let your average annual sales decline because you're putting off the planning and you're maybe mentally checking out a little more each year. The time to do it is when you still have this robust book of business that people are still hearing from you and engaged with you, to be doing that transitional work and keeping it high. And it's really challenging when we see some great agents who maybe 5 years ago were averaging 10, 15, 7 million, whatever it may be. And that when you look at their last 3 years, the average is 3 million because of just the natural decline of their engagement in the business and the amount of time that they want to be working, versus if you had that partnership set up, even before they retired, they could just be referring the daily business that they can't handle or don't want to handle to their partner.
I am really, really excited about this. I rarely, in all of the episodes that we've done, I think we've done 300 and close to 50, I believe. I've yet to tackle this particular topic, and I just see so much opportunity for somebody either retiring or somebody, in the process of building their business and making these connections. Again, these are phone calls that probably that retiring agent are not getting a lot of. And so this is a great, especially if you're young and you don't have a huge sphere of influence, you can work out an arrangement with a retiring broker, but you're probably going to have to approach them first. If you're lucky, they may approach you, but I always assume I'm not that lucky. And I certainly wasn't that lucky when I was a financial advisor, all those years ago. Maybe I wasn't very good, but I certainly wasn't getting those kind of calls from retiring agents. So I think this is something that you have to go first, no matter what side you're on, whether you're the retiring agent or you're the younger agent. You're trying to find a partner. You've really got to think about it, and you got to start making connections. And I think you're so right, is think about the agents that you meet out at showings that you like. If you can't think of anyone in your immediate firm, maybe you're just a tiny firm without many options. Boy, I'm sure there's agents out there that you like, and probably agents that you don't get along with as well. And finding those people that you go, boy, I bet it's they really seem to treat their clients well. And we all sort of know who those agents are. Those are the agents to chat with, I would think, at a very minimum place to get started. But again, I just don't think most agents get these kind of phone calls. And I know you've written a book on it, but and you guys don't appear to be nearing retirement yourselves. But I just suspect most agents don't get these calls. Is that accurate?
I would say 100% accurate. As we've talked to some brokers and as we've talked to agents and as we've gone through this several times, it is never even on people's radar. Generally, it is a totally fresh conversation. And like you were saying about approaching agents that you respect, it comes off really genuine. If I were to say, I really respect the work that you do, I would love to be at a point in my career where I'm doing the level of business, getting the referrals you are, and not paying on the front end for all of X, Y, or Z and these services. And people generally, if you're the successor approaching a retiring agent, generally they're flattered, I would say.
Absolutely.
And they may say, I'm planning on bringing my son or my daughter in and creating this plan, or I've already talked to X person. But that's the worst response.
Thanks, but I already have someone.
The sky's the limit, and the worst answer is no or not right now with it.
There's nothing more flattering than that sort of phone call, and but assuming it comes from a genuine sort of place, and I just see all the opportunity out here for that. And so for everyone listening, just think about your current book of business, and do you have some do you have some free time? And I think in particular, this is really helpful for people who move to a new service area, maybe where they're not as familiar. They don't have a sphere of influence, or somebody that is ultimately familiar with that market incredibly well, knows the agent, feels like they could definitely take over those responsibilities. But either way, I sort of see it fitting just about anyone, unless you're just so incredibly busy that you wouldn't even have time to take on someone else's book. And that's its own problem, good problem, I guess. But still, you could still probably figure out a solution for that. But I almost wonder if we'll start to see teams even dedicate somebody to going out and finding these relationships, because as you mentioned, so many baby boomers are retiring and nobody's talking about this. So I really want everybody, because I've been talking a lot about it myself on this episode, and when I get really excited about things, I talk a lot, so I apologize for that to Justin. But guys, I am telling you, this is a huge, huge opportunity. Please go get the book. Visit resuccession.com. Again, that's resuccession.com. It's called Succession Planning for Real Estate Agents, available on Amazon. And very shortly, there'll be an audiobook version and other ways of consuming this content. But you can also reach directly out to Justin and his wife Jessica's team. They do this for agents. They will help you. What's the best way, Justin, that somebody should reach out if they go, gosh, I would love to consider doing this?
Yeah, certainly our email addresses and our phone number are on the website. Mine is justin.ball@remax.net. You're welcome to use the website. There's a request information form. We're avidly on Facebook, Instagram, Jessica Ball Homes. If you also have any referrals for the Peoria area, you're welcome to reach out to us, and we would be happy to treat your clients wonderfully as well in there.
I think it's great. And I'm just excited for, after all these years of doing the show, to have my first hometown guest on the episode, which is very exciting for me because I have very fond memories of Peoria. So if there is anyone out there who either has clients looking to move to Central Illinois, or maybe you already live in Central Illinois and you're looking to work with a top agent, Justin and Jessica from Remax Traders Unlimited would be honored to speak to you. And we also found out that their office, I used to see a doctor actually in the building that Justin and Jessica work at, which is particularly cute for me to remember. But guys, this would be a team that I would consider partnering with. And also whether it's a referral or even just if you're looking to find a great realtor in the Central Illinois area, they are your team. So definitely reach out to them. And you can also find them on their website, jessicaballhomes.com. But definitely check out the book. This is the first of its kind. This is a conversation that as soon as brokerages start thinking about this, you're going to hear a lot more about it. So I feel this is a great opportunity to get ahead of the curve. And I also, we're launching a new show on our podcast the next couple of weeks. And I don't want to reveal it quite yet, just because the name may change, but it's going to be a news focused show. And I'm really excited to be announcing that shortly. However, I want to get you guys back on that show because I want our journalist to do a deep dive. And he really, he'll be a great asset to have a better, even deeper conversation about this topic. So again, Succession Planning for Real Estate Agents is the book. Visit resuccession.com. Also reach out to Justin and Jessica in the event that you want them to help you figure out succession or finding a successor. Reach out to them if you have any sort of business. They would love to earn your referrals. jessicaballhomes.com. Justin, thank you so much for being on the show. It was really a lot of fun to talk to a fellow Peorian, and also just love succession planning. I'm so excited that for you guys, and I hope that we can sell a lot of books for you, because I think this will end up making agents on both sides of the transaction a tremendous living. So definitely keep it in mind. And on behalf of our audience, want to thank Justin for showing up. providing a tremendous amount of value. And on behalf of Justin and myself, we want to thank our audience for sticking around, listening to our episode. And we ask that you just do two quick things to help us continue to grow. Number one, tell a friend. Think of one other real estate agent that could benefit from hearing this great conversation with Justin. Maybe somebody who's nearing retirement, or maybe somebody who's brand new to the business who could use a mentorship or an apprenticeship. Send them a link to this episode. Best way to do that is just go to keepingitrealpod.com. All of our episodes you can stream right there. And then also, please leave us a review. We could really it's helpful for us to understand what we do well, what we could improve upon. So whatever app you might be listening to this in, if you are listening via some sort of app, leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. It really helps us get better and better. So Justin, thank you so much. And we will see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you.